Check the 1, the 2, the 3.
I urge you, keep our website open as a tab on your internet so you can get to it, because that's the way you can locate meetings as well as events and things that are happening. So keep those open. Also remember that although we're not in quarantine, we do practice social distancing and mask wearing per the guidelines on the signs that are posted. And the reopening statement that you've probably seen reminds us the number of COVID diseases is increasing, and we've been watching that all week. It's been going up everywhere. And we've still got less than 50% of the people in this county that are vaccinated. So don't take chances. We don't want to lose anybody. Now, why don't we center ourselves for today's service, and remember to silence all your electronic devices as Richard plays the prelude.
This piece you've all heard. It's called Teddy Bear's Picnic. And it's a playful time, but yet it's kind of a dangerous time if you go out in the woods. And I want to thank you, Chuck, for wearing that shirt that's got bears all over the front of it. So that's a good start. If you go down in the woods today, you're sure of a big surprise. If you go down in the woods today, you better go in disguise. For every bear that ever there was will gather there for certain, because today's the day the teddy bears have their picnic. If you go down in the woods today, you better not go have their picnic. Have their picnic.
Short and sweet, like we hope this heat wave is going to be today. I just got back from the beach, so pardon me if I lose my track here. I hope not. First of all, Unitarian Universalism is a diverse and non-creedal religion. We're a covenantal religion, which means that we don't have to believe the same in order to treat each other the same, with respect, equity, compassion, and dignity. Our community is based on deeds, not creeds. As Unitarian Universalist, we side with love, embracing all people regardless of age, color, race, socioeconomic status, physical ability, or religious background. We're a welcoming congregation, which means we also embrace LGBTQ individuals. We encourage everybody to wear their name tags so we know each other better. Board members have green name tags, and they always welcome your comments, questions, and suggestions. And would members of the Board of Trustees please stand now so you can be recognized? We have a few here. Thank you. It is hard to recognize them. I just thought about that. That's a strange thing to even, yes, recognize them with their mask. At this time, we would also like to recognize any guests or visitors who are with us today. If you're willing and able, please rise and share with us your name and where you're from. And if you have guests with you, please feel free to introduce them. And Stephen's going to bring the microphone around, so wait until he gets to you if you have someone to introduce.
Hi, we're Ray and my wife Donna.
Its base represents our history and living tradition, and the bowl includes all truth seekers and justice makers, and the flame provides the transformative power of love. spirit of life and love coming to us. Richard?
Good morning, everyone. We welcome you who are joining us through our live streaming and invite you into this space with us today. And those of you who are gathered in our sanctuary, this is meant to be a very fun space today. You know, that's as a minister, maybe the last thing you want to happen before a sermon is for the musician to play a lullaby. That's like giving them permission to just doze off. But what wonderful music we've already heard from Richard. Today's worship theme focuses around play and the theory of play and how important that is in the lives of adults as well as children. And so thank you. As we prepare for our offering this morning, I remind you that in the month of August, our Share the Plate recipient is the Palmetto Place Children's and Youth Services. We are so delighted to have two guests with us today. Sean Carabello and Courtney Tidwell are here, and so delighted that you're here to give us information, share a little bit about the great work that you're doing, but also connect with us as a community because we enjoy being able to share our plate and our resources and join you in your good work. Sean, I believe, is going to come and share a few words.
Good morning. My name is Sean Carabello, and I'm representing Palmetto Place Children and Youth Services. I'm their development manager. Palmetto Place was founded in the 70s. It was founded because the Junior Women League noticed that it was a need in the community. There were a lot of kids in foster care that were being neglected and abused. From that, they were like, hey, let's create this shelter. So then we were called Palmetto Place Shelter. Now our name has taken a bit of a change. We're Palmetto Place Youth and Children's Services because we provide just that. Wraparound services for our youth that's beyond just giving them a house. We make sure that their mental health is in check, that they're going to the hospital and getting the services that they need. We provide them with life skills. We are their village at the house. We create that for them. In 2012, we realized that there are a population of youth that are homeless, and they like to be called unaccompanied youth, not homeless youth. And with that population of youth, we created an entire program around it. And there we give the kids, I'm sorry guys, I'm really nervous. I'm really nervous. But there we give them a lot. Something that Palmetto Place holds dear is giving the youth a house built on hope. That's something that we really stand by. So we're trying to give them hope. We're trying to give them a village and things like that. I started at Palmetto Place working part-time every other weekend. And from that, it just grew. I switched over to another campus, which was the homeless youth campus, and I ended up leading that house with the youth. Did that for a bit, and then I started working with the YAB, and the YAB is a group of youth who are not just in Palmetto Place, but across the Midlands who are experiencing homelessness. And basically, they get together with me, and we talk about their issues that they're facing as homeless youth. And eventually, our goal is to go to the legislators and really try to put things on the books to make change. So that's all. If y'all have questions later, please feel free. But thank you guys for your time today.
Thank you, Sean. I get nervous when I look at this crew too, so it's quite all right. We're really nice though, and we are absolutely thrilled to link arms with Palmetto Place and the work that you're doing, not just financially, but know that we are on board emotionally and spiritually in supporting you and your great work. At this time, I would invite the ushers to come and receive our morning offering, and if you would like during our virtual service to donate, there are ways that you can donate online through our website. Richard. You can give him a hand. He's done a great job. And before we invite the children out, this is for the parents. Richard is available to come and play in person for you, for your children, and entertain them hours on end. So just a small fee to the Richard McLeod Fund, and you can get that happening. Scott is in the back. We are getting ready to start the RE program in a few short weeks here at the UUCC. And he has a table back there in the back where you can volunteer. He still needs volunteers. Scott, if you will wave back there and show the table to make sure everybody knows they can't pass it by without volunteering. So he is back there in the back and can answer any questions, or he can also register children and youth also in the RE wing. At this time, if there are any children that would like to go out for our playtime, we will have somebody out for some playtime on the playground area. And any adults that would like to go as well. I always give you that option. So Richard has been pretty much playing music, hopefully that is reminding you of songs of youthfulness, maybe songs of your childhood. He's got a little surprise for you later where you can't just sit and be a participant, right? Or spectator. You have to be a participant, right, Richard? Yep. So that might be everybody's cue to leave at that point. But we all know the sound of children's music and children playing and the beautiful sounds of laughter and the joy of childhood. And this is an invitation this morning to actually go back to your childhood. For some, it may be way, way back to your childhood, but to find it back there wherever it is and reconnect with the joy and the memories of being a child. I know that in preparing for this week, this is not necessarily a great gift of mine to go back and connect to childhood and play, sometimes being a little too serious myself. And so I've been trying to practice what I preach this week. My two older kids, Mary and Sarah, have both gotten into skateboarding, something I did when I was a teenager. And it terrifies me working in a hospital, knowing all the things that can happen on a skateboard. But nevertheless, as soon as they brought those skateboards out and started kind of meandering around, I thought I was 13 again. And I thought, well, I can just go and jump on that board and take off. It's muscle memory, right? Obviously, it'll just come right back to me. I just remember standing on the board and realizing I may not make it through this. But nevertheless, I'm trying to remember and connect, and so I'm just preparing you and letting you know that I've already been fitted for the arm cast in case that happens. And so if you see me come in here with a sling the next week, just say, yep, he was doing the skateboarding thing. An invitation to go back to a simpler time, a time when there wasn't the responsibility of a job and all of the household activities and chores that need to be accomplished, that you maintain, the financial wonderings about how you're going to pay the bills and all the things that you have to do, and knowing all that we know as adults and all that we are responsible for. This is an invitation to just let that go for a few minutes today in our worship service and remember what it's like to be a child on a playground in a play area, using your imagination and your creativity to be in this space with each other today. Some of the classic theorists around play describe it as an expression of surplus energy in the 1800s as they were beginning to look at play, a practicing of the instincts even, that it's a way that we connected to our animal friends, that a pattern of relaxation from the pressures of industrial civilization. Others maintained quite different type views of what play is, that it was actually an energy restoration or recreation of ourselves. Some described it as a sort of recapitulation in individual development, the early stages of our evolution of our species. Taken as a whole, all of these explanations that claim that play not only illustrates individuals' connections to their animal heritage, but also connotes their distinctive ability as a species. When I think about the theory of play, my mind goes directly not to the classic views of play that we're trying to figure out how to incorporate it into the Industrial Revolution, but my mind goes to Jean Piaget. We have any education folks out there? So that name should ring a bell, right? Jean Piaget, a student of Carl Jung, articulated what I think is clearly the general idea of play, that it is a quest for cognitive consistency. Piaget identified play as pure assimilation, the attempt of children to make a world's processes submit to cognitively based themes. People play to experience the pleasure that comes from imposing their own behavioral strategies on the world. And as they play, they practice these forms, according to Piaget, forms of bodily and psychic control. Players are preoccupied with building and reinforcing symbolically based rules and regimes. All of these are central themes to Piaget's theory of moral development that he developed later through games. There has even been later interpretations like Jerome Bruner that argue that play is less of a search for a conceptual order, and it's a much looser style of narrative expression that features image-based thinking and multiple interpretations. Greta Fine in the 80s stressed the role of the pretense of play as a process that helps children use decontextualized knowledge, make object substitution, assume new roles, and distinguish themselves from the other in the act of play. Play allows us to learn how to be creative and helps nurture critical thinking, personality development, and adaptive pathways for us in childhood. The benefits of play are far-reaching, but we often give up play as adults for the more serious pursuits, such as our careers, our relationships, our families, the bills, the chores, all the things that are valid pursuits and good places to pour our energy, but often cause us to disconnect from what it's like to be playful and to have moments where we just suspend ourselves from all of the activities and responsibilities and enjoy play. Now, we do have play as adults. I asked someone about a few adults as I was kind of thinking about this, and someone said, well, I play golf. Like, is there anything, the way I play golf, it is a chore. And it's exercise. Many times I have to go into the woods. It's an expedition. And it's also a sand experience and sometimes a water experience. So I guess you can play golf in that way. Others told me they play tennis, and then I thought the same way. The way I play tennis is very competitive. There's nothing fun about it. It's like I'm losing or I'm winning. And that's often the case. Like, adults tend to play and incorporate play into their lives by playing a sport. But it often turns into competition. And in competition, Piaget said that we will lose sight of the heart and soul of play because it gets wrapped up in the activity and winning and what you need to do instead of opening yourself up to creativity and enjoying the experience. I try when I play golf, when I play tennis, when I play other sports and I mess up, I try to incorporate the great educator and orchestra director Benjamin Zander, who tells you when you make a mistake, instead of dissolving into yourself, to just throw your hands up and say, "How fascinating." So you should try that. I know we have some golfers out there. David, right? You slice one into the woods, just throw the club down and on the tee box say, "How fascinating." Emilio and Nancy, you hit one into the net on the tennis court. How fascinating. I tried that in playing doubles with Michelle, and she kept hitting one out of bounds, and I would just go, "How fascinating that you keep doing that." Not the idea that we had in mind. There's a more moderate version of this tradition that follows the thinking of the Russian psychologist Lev Vygotsky, who focused actually on the experience of play as a dialogue between differently stated individuals who both cooperate and at the same time challenge one another. And in this way, Vygotsky says the play then becomes a kind of performance, an acting out of the imaginative possibilities before audiences who, as children, critically evaluate but also contribute to the unfolding scenario that doesn't have a beginning, a middle, or an end. It's just happening in space. It is something that we in play improvise together. Our imagination telling a story and spectating the story at the same time. Having a 1-year-old at home, almost a 1-year-old, coming up on Wednesday, I'm watching a lot of Sesame Street these days. She is a big fan of Sesame Street, and I'm really glad that I reconnected to Sesame Street and Elmo. I never thought I would end up saying that out loud. Now that I say it out loud, I'm sure not, I don't think it's true. All right, well, we'll go with it. But I've really enjoyed at least feeling connected to Elmo in some sense. And I was able to look back at a documentary that was done about 10 years ago on Kevin Clash. If you have not seen that, it's a fascinating documentary about Kevin growing up in Baltimore and having an imaginative creativity around puppets and voices and connecting with people, and how he eventually met Jen Hansen and Kermit Love and those who were involved in Muppets, and himself created Elmo and is still the voice of Elmo to this day. He's also pretty wealthy at this point, I would imagine, having grown up on the streets of Baltimore. But what a fascinating thing to watch Sesame Street. I now watch it and I see adults coming on there, and some of the serious actors and musicians in our society, and they seem to just have so much fun, kind of letting themselves loose to say, well, this is my time. I'm sitting here singing next to Muppets. It's time to have fun. And to join in with our creativity and imagination together. I would imagine that it's quite an experience, a healthy experience for many of those who have an opportunity to work in that kind of environment and enjoy play. Play is a spiritual practice. Imagination as a spiritual practice. The ability to step away from time and responsibilities and immerse ourselves in the moment of feeling connected to ourselves, connected to others, connected to the web of existence around us. In a great book that came out in the 70s, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi wrote a great book called The Flow, which describes that experience that he says is the holistic sensation that people feel when they act with total involvement in something. They lose sight of everything around them. They're so locked into the experience of whatever that is that they're doing, whether it's sport or play. Time seems to stand still, or maybe the person, Csikszentmihalyi says, they step outside of time for a few moments and experience timelessness in the experience of play. One of the definitions that I looked up for play from the Oxford English Dictionary is to wield lightly and freely and to keep in motion. I'm setting you up here, Richard. You see that? So the question is, wouldn't you like to experience more moments of lightness in your life these days? Wouldn't you like to experience more freedom in your days? Moments where the clock stands still, moments where the clock is not even an issue, moments where you feel so connected to the deepest part of yourself and your being, so connected to others around you and the earth around you that you lose sight in the moment of where you are. All the worries, all the heaviness of life fades away. Fortunately, we can create those play experiences in our lives in many different ways. Stuart Brown is a doctor who has been studying play for decades, and in his book, Play, he outlines 5 different play archetypes that we can incorporate as adults into our lives that he has observed during his years of research. So I'll just share briefly those 5 that you have to choose from. So think about these. The first is the rough and tumble play. It's the great learning medium for all of us: diving, batting, tug of war, capture the flag, scavenger hunts, kickball, dodgeball, which is not maybe bringing back PTSD for some of us. All of these are ways to play actively and engaged. According to Dr. Brown, this is where we develop emotional regulation, hopefully, as well as cognitive, emotional, and physical mastery of our bodies and the sport. And then he also describes ritual play, which is chess, board games, activities or sports with set rules and structures. All of these fall into the world of ritual play. In ritual play, we can create, strategize, design, engage in activities that bring people together for a common purpose or a goal. One of my favorites is imaginative play. Do you remember when you were a child, you had so much fun just living out your fantasies and imaginations and how you could just create your world around you? How much fun is this form of play? It's the reason why parents get frustrated at birthday parties when the box becomes the thing that the kid plays with, because the imagination sees that box through a different lens than the adult eyes are able to see. Coloring, storytelling, painting, drawing, crafting, acting, as well as acting on stage, comedy, improv, all of these are imagination experiences that foster through play. Brown also describes body play as spontaneous desires to get ourselves out of gravity, which I think is a beautiful expression. The moments where we want to experience weightlessness. So experiences like being in the water and swimming, where we feel the weightlessness. Trips to the moon with Bezos on his rocket. Experiencing of weightlessness. Mountain climbing, where you feel like you have completely gone above and beyond the confines of Earth. Surfing, snorkeling, all these places where we move our bodies in a way that we're not able to move them when we're walking around on the earth. But also yoga and Pilates, hiking and whitewater rafting, and even riding roller coasters for those who enjoy experiencing that attempt at getting rid of gravity in our lives. All of these are body play. And then the last that he outlines is the form of play that brings us back to building with Legos. Many of you know Beckham, the soccer player, and he admits that when he gets stressed out, he plays with Legos. And he doesn't play with Legos with children. He just plays with Legos with himself and enjoys letting that be a time of de-stressing from life. Playing with Jenga blocks, which is always sometimes stressful. If you go to the restaurant downtown that has the bowling alley, there's a very tall, life-size Jenga blocks there, and it makes a really loud noise when it falls, and so it's very stressful. I wouldn't recommend that for play. Snowball fights, we have a lot of those here in Columbia, South Carolina. We had one like 8 years ago, we had a snow, and we made one ball from it, and we decided who we were gonna throw it at. But also manipulation of objects and designing and building things and crafting things with our hands and creating out of imagination. As Michelangelo said, when you see a statue, how to carve a statue is not really taking a rock and creating a statue. It is an acknowledgement there's a beautiful statue inside there, and you have to carve away all the rocks so that it can come out. To be able to see that with our imagination and build in that way is a form of play. There are many other ways that we can play, many other categories that we can create ourselves, and the positive benefits of playing are proven in Stuart Brown's research. Improved cognitive functioning, the improved ability to deal with stress with greater ease and fluidity. It awakens our creative thinking, our childlike exuberance, and it causes us to laugh more often, which we all need. So I would invite you to experiment a little bit to find out what works for you. How can you bring play into your life? Stuart Brown, in his book, describes experiments that were done with mice who are hardwired to play. And mice wrestle and pin each other to the ground and run in circles, all that he understood in his research as play behavior. So they had a group of mice that they stopped the play behavior every time it happened, put it in check and separated the mice, and put them in confinement. He had a group of mice that they allowed to play and do all that they were hardwired to do. And then they took both groups of mice together and they handed them a cat-scented collar. I don't know what that smells like, but some of you probably do. And instinctually, they fled and hid. And it's amazing that out of the groups of mice, eventually the ones who had played began to come out of hiding with curiosity, walk a little bit, explore, go back into hiding, but eventually found themselves back out once again, finding the confidence and creativity to forage and find food and survive. The mice that did not play, that were not allowed to play, never left hiding. And if they had not intervened, those mice would have died. They never found the courage and the creativity to come out of hiding. I don't know that that's any more relevant than it ever has been in our lives than what we are experiencing right now. As this past year has sent us into hiding and isolation, a virus, a COVID-scented collar handed to us. We've been in hiding and trying to find our ability to come out, trying to find our courage and our wisdom as we come out safely. How important it is in our lives to remind ourselves, as Stuart Brown says, that play is not just important, it's key to survival. We have to nurture our play, our sense of play as adults, find and create experiences of flow in our lives, be in the moment of enjoyment and imagination and curiosity. Our survival and our well-being depends on our capacity to play, to use our imagination and creativity to create a new normal in our world around us, and in so doing, transform ourselves and our world.
Okay, continuing on playing some of the most fun times of my life as a young person is when I could do music, play kind of things. Things that you did like in church, if you were in a church earlier, or in summer camps. But the songs you sang, and as I'm saying this, you're thinking, well, let's see, what do I remember? All kinds of neat stuff that you could sing as play-type songs. Well, anyhow, we're going to do this one today that I hope you will remember. It's called When You're Happy and You Know It. You remember that one? Anybody? You got that? Okay. Now, we will be a little bit restricted because I can't have you stand up and move around and even sing. We can't even sing unless you absolutely have to. But you can go through the motions. So, here's what the first one looks like. Let me do this one for you. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands, and then you do, right? Oh, you got this. You're old hands. You know how to do it. So, let's do this one. First verse, and then I'll give you a second verse, and then I'll give you a third verse, and we'll move on from there. Okay, you ready? Are you ready? Nancy, you ready? Emilio, you ready? Bud, you ready? Chuck? Joe, you ready? If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're and you know it, clap your hands. Now, second one is stomp your feet. Now, if you want to stand up and you stomp your feet better, you can do that. Otherwise, I think you can handle this sitting down. Stomp your feet. Are your feet ready? Go feet, yes. If you're happy and you know it, stamp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, stamp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, stamp your feet. Okay, now this one, you may not have seen this, third verse. And you got to watch out for people around you. But this has got to be, if you're happy and you know it, flap your wings. Okay? Know what I'm saying? The whole flap your wings? Yeah. All right.
We need to stand for this one, Richard.
You ready? Okay, need an example.
And they do have the option of tiger roar too, right? Like,
Oh, we got so much you can do. This thing has about like 43 verses to it. But this may be all we can do for today. Or if we have some time to fill up, Stephen, we could go on with that. Ready? This is called Flap Your Wings. If you're happy and you know it, flap your wings. If you're happy and you know it, flap your wings. If you're happy and you know it, then you surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, flap your wings. Okay, now this last verse is a real test, because on this one, you say, if you're happy and you know it, do all three. Which means you do happy and you know it, do all three, then you do a clap, clap, stomp, stomp, wing, wing. Can you do that? Can you do that without using it or without knocking anybody down? Okay. Yeah, yes we can, I like it. Are you ready? If you're happy and you know it, do all three. If you're happy and you know it, do all three. If you're happy and you know it, and your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, do all three.
All right, thank you, Richard. Richard got you started right today, so you have some ideas to go home and continue to play and hopefully incorporate it into our lives. Our closing words today come from George Bernard Shaw, who says simply, we don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. So as we extinguish our chalice today, may we leave this place with our minds, our energies, our creativity, our imagination determined to incorporate play into our lives.
May the blessings of truth be upon us. May the power of love direct us. And may the peace of this community sustain us. Till we meet again.
This concludes our service, but I believe Richard has some invitation around our postlude, right? Do you want to talk through that? You're welcome to kind of...
Yeah, hang around for just a minute. It's kind of a postlude, but it's also just kind of like a closing song. And it's also a musical background to what Stephen did for the opening words about Young at Heart. How many of you remember this from the 50s? This is Frank Sinatra and everybody else who sang this song. It was a beautiful song. Fairy tales can come true. It can happen to you if you're young at heart. For it's hard, you will find, to be narrow of mind if you're young at heart. You can go to extremes with impossible schemes. You can laugh when your dreams fall apart at the seams. And life gets more exciting every passing day when love is either in your heart or whether it's on its way. Don't you know that it's worth every treasure on earth to be young at heart? For as rich as you are, it's much better by far if you're young at heart. And if you should survive to 105, think of all you derive just by being alive. Here's the best part. You'll have a head start if you are among the very young at heart.
Big thanks to Richard for all your help and bringing the music to help us play today. We invite you, as you make your way out of the sanctuary here, there are places you can gather outside for some social time with each other. And thank you for being a part of the service here today. We also thank those who are joining us virtually, and we extend our love and support and care from this community to you as well. Thank you for being a part of our service today.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you too. Got any maybe updates as we move forward?
No, I mean, it's been, the numbers are going up. So we're still below 45% of the vaccination rates. So we're seeing, like our hospital had, like a month ago, we had 9 or 10.